Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. And yes, we have it. A Battletome update for Seraphon. This comes courtesy of the White Dwarf issue 469, which is on pre order right now. Go to Games Workshop, order yourself a copy if you want one. It has some rules for our Battletome. It updates some of the stuff from our Battletome. And some of it's good, some of it's bad. We're going to look at it. Either way, hey, it's some new Seraphon content, and I'm always here for that. So let's talk through what we've got in this Battletome update. We do have an update to Primeval Domain, which is one of our allegiance abilities for Coalesced. We have mount traits. Yes, we get mount traits. We have a core battalion. We'll see how disappointing that is. We have grand strategies and battle tactics. So we have some interesting stuff to add to our repertoire of gaming. So let's get started. Let's look at the Primeval Domain. And this updates one of the rules that Coalesced had, where it basically ignored negative effects for terrain in your territory. So it's been updated, and let's look at what it says. If a terrain feature is partially or wholly within the terrain of a Coalesced army, then it has the mystical and deadly mysterious terrain serene scenery rules, in addition to any other mysterious terrain scenery rules it may have. The mystical scenery rule for these terrain features only applies to Coalesced units, while the deadly scenery rule for those terrain features do not apply to Coalesced units. So everything in our territory gets two scenery rules: mystical and deadly. What mystical does is it gives us +1 to prayers and banishments, and which we don't have those, but +1 to prayers and a 6-up ward save for models within 1 inch. And so that's pretty nice, especially when it's in our territory. We can basically guarantee a lot of the big monsters in Coalesce can get a 6-up ward save to start the game. A lot of times, if you're playing with a lot of terrain features, this is going to be very good. We also don't have any way to give pluses to our prayers. And so this right here, along with the Engine of the Gods becoming a priest in the last FAQ, this is going to be very useful, as now our skink priests, our Engine of the Gods, are going to get +1 to their prayer rolls. That is very nice. They also get deadly for the enemy units, and if they end a move within 1 inch on a roll of a 1, it's a D3 mortal. So that just kind of keeps them from getting into those terrain features. It will come into effect, not very often, to be honest. But that mystical is very nice because you can set up for that and basically guarantee it based on where the terrain is. And one of the terrain features that will get it is our Realm Shaper engine. So now the Realm Shaper engine just got a little bit better. So now you're definitely going to be wanting to put that skink priest inside the Realm Shaper engine, and maybe your Engine of the Gods right next to it. So fantastic update. I like that. That's very good. It has use in our army. I think we're getting that +1 to prayers is good. So I like this rule. I like that one a lot. Much better than how it was previously written in the Battletome. Next up, we have mount traits, and man, when I saw this title, I got a little excited. Let's see what it is, though. So the first one is Beastmaster. Oh, and you can only apply these to one monster, and it has to have the Carnosaur, Stegodon, or Troglodon keyword. So I don't think there's any other monsters in our army, but that's how they apply. So the first one is for Coalesce. It's Beastmaster. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can declare that this mount will either be Swift or Savage. If you choose for it to be Swift, until your next hero phase, it can run and still shoot and or charge in the same turn. If you choose Savage, until the next hero phase, add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by this mount. Yes! This one, I mean, as a Coalesced fan, this one right here is exactly what I wanted in a mount trait. We have some flexibility. Now, it's only once per hero phase, or once per battle, but it gives you some flexibility. You can either choose it to be Swift or Savage. Swift, I see being used if you just really need to get something somewhere, if you're trying for that alpha strike, if you really need to get across the board, if you need to get from one objective to another and make that charge, that is fantastic. We've had access to something like this with the Skink Priest. It has an ability, not a prayer, an ability that goes off on a 3-up that basically does the same thing. It has a few other things it does, but it basically does this. And so now we can actually guarantee it if we want to. If there's something that you really need this to happen to and you don't get that 3-up roll, you can, if you use your mount trait for that monster, you can guarantee it here. Or you can pair it up with, let's say you put your priest on something that you want to run, shoot, and charge, and then you also got this mount trait on something else that can run, shoot, and charge. You can get a lot of stuff in your army run, shooting, and charging with this mount trait and some skink priests. So pretty awesome there. The other option is Savage, and you add one to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by this mount. This one is the one that got my juices flowing right here. We have abilities already to increase attacks on some of our monsters. So you've got Prime War Beast, and this pairs fantastically with Prime War Beast. So Prime War Beast has already given us +1 to all the attacks on our mounts for that unit. So now we've got +2 if we also put this mount trait on that one. Then you can go with the Sacred Asterisms that would give you another +1 to your attacks. And then let's say you're running the Stegadon Chief, who can spend another command point for another +1 to all the attacks. Or if you're running the Old Blood, you can do the same. So you could potentially get these guys up to +4 to all those attacks on the mount. So that is awesome. So I really like that ability. This has some flexibility, has some use, and if you use it smartly, this mount trait, you can get a lot of mileage out of it. It is only once per battle, but use it intelligently, and you'll be able to get some good mileage out of it. I like that mount trait a lot. It's for Coalesced. Starborn also got a mount trait. It's called Celestial Destruction. This is Starborn only. You can carry out this Monstrous Rampage with this unit instead of any other Monstrous Rampage that you carry out with this unit. If you do so, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this unit. Add 1 to the roll if the enemy unit has the Chaos keyword. On a 5-up, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So this is basically your stomp for a Monstrous Rampage, but it has an AoE. Instead of just one unit, you're going to do it to multiple units. And it's pretty nice. A little, you've got I think you've almost got to kind of set it up because you're going to want to charge in. And if you're only going against one unit, that's not a monster, the stomp is easier to pull off. But this will affect more units, and it doesn't say it won't affect monsters, so you can basically stomp monsters. So that's pretty nice. And it is kind of funny how it gives you the chaos multiplier there. So you get to add 1, so it'd be on a 4 up against chaos units. So we love to face chaos. So shoot them with your Bastildons and charge them with a monster that blows up. Pretty nice. So I like it. It has its uses, and it's not limited to once per game. So you can fire this off every time in the charge phase when you're doing monstrous rampages. Just get this on something tough that you're gonna send into the middle of the fray, and then just have it just keep exploding. So that'd be a lot of fun. So I like that mount trait. I think that's a good one too. It has its uses. Hey, and both of those mount traits, they're better than any other mount trait we got. So good. I like it. It's better than nothing. Let's look at our core battalion. We heard that Thunderquake was coming back. Yes, Thunderquake. Unfortunately, a little disappointing. So Thunderquake, it requires your Engine of Gods or your Stegadon Chief. You see that in the top spot there. A Bastildon or Stegadon. Another Bastildon or Stegadon. So you got 2 of those in any combination. And then a Croxigor or Salamander Razordon unit. And I just got to point out, look at how goofy that Salamander looks there. Like, even the silhouette of the Salamander model looks terrible. Like, oh, man. Anyway. So, I mean, not a bad battalion. That has a lot of stuff that I want to take. That's basically your old Thunderquake battalion right there. All those units, which I love, I want to take. Unfortunately, the benefits just really aren't there. So the abilities that you get from that, you get Swift. So 1 unit, once per battle, gets the at the double or forward to victory. Or you can take Slayers, which once per battle, 1 unit gets all out attack or unleash hell. So you're gaining 1 command point, basically. Now you save yourself from having to spend it. They can, like if a Bastildon's off in the middle of nowhere or Stegadon's off in the middle of nowhere, then they can still receive that command point without anybody having to spend it on them or without anybody having to issue it. And so that is nice, but we have other ways to get that. To be honest, I don't see any reason why I would take this battalion over any of the others. Now, if it had given us like a 1-drop, like a unified battalion, then maybe I would have taken it. But I don't really see any use in taking this because I could take 2 Bastildons in line breakers. I haven't lost any on my drops, and I got the same exact abilities. So I don't really see a huge point in taking this battalion. It's unfortunate because Thunderquake was always my favorite battalion back in the previous edition. So I was really hoping Thunderquake could make a valiant return. Alas, it has not. On to grand strategies. Now here's where, some updates could get thrown pretty wacky, because grand strategies and battle tactics, I mean, that's scoring points in tournaments. And so I think they try to tread lightly here, but I've had some of the other Battletome updates from White Dwarf used against me in tournaments. So those grand strategies and battle tactics, so they're going to be used. Let's see how good ours are looking. So the first one is Coalesced only. It's continuous expansion. When the battle ends, you complete this objective if you have one friendly unit wholly within each large quarter of the battlefield. What? No. I'm not going to take this, because this requires me to have 4 units alive at the end of the game and in a very specific place. Now, granted, it's an entire quarter of the battlefield that you have, but you have to have 1 in every corner of the battlefield. So I'd much rather just take one where it says keep a battle line alive or keep a monster alive. Because I guarantee you, at least one of those models that will still be alive in the corner of each battlefield is either going to be a battle line or a monster. And so I see absolutely no case in which I'm going to take continuous expansion. Let me know if there's something I'm missing here. But nope, not taking that one. Continuous expansion. That gets a big thumbs down for me. The other one is for Starborn, the Astro Matrix. An imaginary ley line 1 millimeter wide runs between each corner of the battlefield to the diagonally opposite corner of the battlefield. Oh man, just starting to read this, you're like, okay, this is not going to be fun. When the battle ends, you complete this objective if a ley line does not pass over any enemy unit with the wizard keyword, and at least one ley line passes over a friendly wizard. What? So again, we've got some ridiculous conditions here that are much easier met by just taking any other one of the other grand strategies. Like, take the one where you just try to keep a wizard alive. That's basically the same as this one. I'm going to have 1 wizard alive by the end of this game, and you don't have to worry about having them on a line and not having the enemy on one of these ley lines as well. This is one that the enemy can easily stop you, especially if you get a bad matchup where they have Nagash or one of these wizards that's like incredibly hard to kill. Then they stay anywhere across one of the diagonal lines on the battlefield, and you cannot get this one. So I don't like this one. I don't see ever taking this one. I think there's just much easier grand strategies than these. Battle tactics. Might of the Starborn. Here we go. Battle tactics. Now these are used once per round. You're going to pick these at the beginning of the round. So let's see how well these are going to do. Neither one of these are sub-faction locked, which is kind of interesting. So everything else was sub-faction locked. Now, you kind of are sub-faction locked by this first one, and we'll read into that why. But the first one's called Might of the Starborn. Pick one objective on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if you summon a friendly unit that has a celestial conjuration point cost of 20 or more during the turn, and that unit is wholly within 12 inches of the objective you picked. So let's take a reminder here on the summoning table. So we're looking at, everything above that line. You have to summon that in. Saurus Warrior, 20 Saurus Warriors in a unit. A Carnosaur, Bastildon, Stegodon, basically all your big monsters are up there. And I don't know if you're like me, I'm never summoning those things. They're never going to make back up their points. You're always going to be summoning either 10 Skinks for 6 points, or you're getting a Salamander for 10. You're almost never saving up for 20 because you've got to burn those Celestial Conjuration points earlier in the game to build up your screens, to get your board presence going, to hit targets with those Salamanders. So I'm almost never saving up to 20. And then even if you do save up to 20, you have to pick an objective on the battlefield, and you have to summon that unit wholly within 12 of the objective, which all of those units aren't going to fit outside. Let's pretend somebody's on the objective. You're not going to be able to fit that unit that you summoned wholly within 12 of that objective. So it's got to be an objective you own, and you have to be able to summon onto it. Now you can do some teleport and stuff like that. So I think occasionally you will use this battle tactic. It's nice to have in your back pocket. What I see this being used at most is like I've tabled the opponent. We're just running through like our battle tactics, and I'm going to pick this one because the next 2 turns I'm not going to summon anything. I'm going to build up my conjuration points, and then this is going to be my round 5. I've already beat you. Here's my battle tactic for round 5 that I can get easily. I think those are the only times it's going to be used. It's going to be hard unless you're just going hard on summoning to actually get this. And obviously, you can't ever get that in Coalesced. So maybe that's why they didn't sub-faction lock it, because you literally cannot get this in Coalesced. So the next one is Stampede of Scales. Pick 3 different friendly monsters. You complete this battle tactic if all the units you picked run in the following movement phase and finish that run within 6 of each other and wholly within enemy territory. So, again, you would be better off picking the battle tactic where you just run 3 monsters and they end up within 3 inches of each other. Now, it's closer, but you don't have to be wholly within enemy territory. So that right there makes this really hard to do, and especially really hard in Coalesce because you're not normally pushing forward that hard early on. So I think you may see this one in the same type of situation you see with the first one. You've already tabled that person, and now you're looking for those battle tactics that you can get at the end of the game. I've still got 3 monsters alive. I don't need them to do anything like shoot or charge, and so I'm going to run them. Now you can end up doing some stuff where you're running, shooting, and charging because of the priest or the mount traits to where you can still have utility after you run them, but you're setting up a lot. And you're probably not doing this in turn 1 anyway, because you're not going to get all 3 of those monsters into enemy territory without just sacrificing all 3 of those enemy monsters in the next turn. So it could be, it's okay. I don't know that I'm ever gonna focus on this. It'll be one of those ones in your back pocket that you might use occasionally, but I think there's a lot better ones that you're gonna be used out there. So that one's not gonna tip the scales, the Stampede of Scales, in favor of Seraphon. So in conclusion, I think we did get some good stuff. I like the Primeval Domain. I think that's a great improvement for us. I like the mount traits. I think they have utility. I think they have use. I'm not crazy about the core battalion. I give that one a thumbs down. I don't see a lot of use in that one. And grand strategies and battle tactics, I'm giving a thumbs down. I think we've got better options out there. Definitely for grand strategies. I don't think I'll ever take one of these grand strategies. Battle tactics are situational. You might use them, but I don't think it's one of the better choices. I see them maybe as a late game once you've already tabled the opponent. So, all right, that's it for our Battletome update. I'll include a link below if you want to see the actual pictures from the White Dwarf that have been leaked online. So let me know what you think. What are you liking about the new Battletome update, and what are you planning on using in your upcoming games? All right, guys. We'll see y'all later.